Everyone, so this is going to be a tag video. So this is the What's Your Craft Witchy tag. This is a 30 question tag, and I'm not sure who started it. I know Alvine Green did this tag, and she was one of the first ones I believe that has done this tag. And I think she said, I don't remember who she said specifically, but I remember her saying somebody else. She thought that somebody else that she knew had started it, but I'm not sure, so I don't know who to credit this tag to. But whoever created it, you did a great job because these are really good questions. So thank you. So yeah, let's get started. So question 1 says, when did you first know you were a witch? I first knew I was a witch probably since forever. Honestly, I've always felt like I was a witch. I mean, there's pictures of me when I was 3 years old, dressed up in a witch costume because I chose to wear a witch costume all the time. I was either in a witch costume or I was in a bathing suit as a kid. Like, I was that type of kid. Like, my parents were afraid when I went to school because they knew I would wear Halloween costumes, and mainly my witch Halloween costume or a bathing suit to school. Like, it was a struggle. The struggle was real, let me tell you. But anyways, I've always been into the whole witch thing, like every aspect about it, like real witchcraft, and then like not so real witchcraft, like Hollywood or fantasy witchcraft too. It started with the Hollywood fantasy stuff, but I knew even as a small child, like a young small child, I knew that there was more to it than that. I knew that there was something real about it. So I guess technically I always say 11 years old, but actually the very first time I ever researched anything about real witchcraft, I was 9. But it was so brief. It was just like I looked up a couple of things. But when I started doing it consistently, I was like 11 years old. And then when I started really practicing, like finding spells on, and yes, this was online. And this was in the days of AOL, dial-up AOL. That's what we had. So, you know, dial-up takes forever, and our service was like through AOL, and oh my god, it took freaking forever just to load a damn page. But I would wait. My sister would be in college, and she'd only come home on the weekends, and she had an old HP, Hewlett Packard desktop. And it was actually in this room where my elemental altar is over there. She had her desk and her computer, so when she'd come home, she'd, you could do her homework and all this stuff, even though it'd take forever. And when she was away, I wasn't allowed to get on her computer. She would always get so mad at me. And because I wasn't allowed to get on the computer, what did that make me do? Of course, sneak on and get on the computer every single chance I got, because I loved electronics and buttons anyways. That's just the kind of child I was. And I knew that that was an infinite source of information. So I knew, even at a young age, I knew I could find anything I needed. So if I wanted answers, that box was my answer. So I would get on there. I figured out myself. I had just never taught how to use a computer. My parents just learned how to use, well, my dad still doesn't know how to use one, but my mother just learned how to use a computer maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. So I learned how to use a computer when I was like, I actually learned how to get online when I was like 7, I think. And then I did the whole witch thing like the first time when I was like 9. Like, looked up just a couple random things. Which it started with the fantasy stuff, because I was just like, I love looking up stuff about that, and it took forever. And then I realized, there's more to it than this, and there's something real about it. And then when I got, a couple years older, like I said, like 11-ish, I started looking up for like real witchcraft, real witches, real magic, real spells. And that opened my door to paganism and Wicca and all these other things. And that's what kind of started it for me, honestly. So, yeah. Question 2, how long have you been practicing? I semi-kind of answered that question. So 11, 12, 13 in there. Probably, I'll say 12, since I was 12. So, and I'm 25 now, so 13 years. Lucky 13. Good God, sorry. I have cats everywhere. I have 4 little kitty cats that look like this now. I love them so much. Yes, they're all wild. They're everywhere. So if you've seen my Instagram, I have kittens that kind of was a surprise to us. This will be, don't knock yourself out on the door. Sorry, they're like running around chasing each other and playing. I've never had kittens at my house before. I've taken care of kittens at, this barn down my road or whatever. They're like stray barn cats. So for 2 years I've taken care of cats, but I've never had any of my own here in my house. Now I have 5 in my room. I have 4 kittens and their mother Rue. All gray Russian blue cats. 3 boys and 1 girl. I have Spanky, Alfalfa, Buckwheat, and Darla, named after the Little Rascals. But I love them and it fits them very well because their personalities match up with the characters from the Little Rascals. So, anyways, if you see cats flying around everywhere, that's why. Just wanted to insert that really fast. Anyway, back to the tag. So yeah, I've been practicing for 13 years, roughly, give or take. Yeah. What kind of witch are you? I'm just a witch. I'm an everything witch, I guess. I know people give themselves like titles like they're a sea witch or an earth witch or a urban witch, a crystal witch, a city witch, a who gives a crap witch. I don't know. I mean, that's cool. Those names are cute and everything, but why do you need a name for it? Just say you're a witch, like, I don't know. I mean, if I was going to give my name or give myself a name or whatever, I guess I would be I'd either be an elemental witch maybe, or probably a balance witch or a yin yang or yin yang witch, because I work mainly with the yin yang. I always say yin yang because that's what people know it as mainly, but it's really called or pronounced yin yang instead of yin yang. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say yin yang. So yin yang witch, or balance witch, or elemental witch, because I mainly work with those energies, the elements, and then universal yin yang balance kind of stuff. So something along those lines, I guess. But I think it's just easier just saying you're a witch. You're a witch and you practice witchcraft if you do, which if you're a witch, most likely you would practice witchcraft. But anyway, question 4. What path or tradition do you follow? I'm mainly Celtic based, but ironically and strangely enough, my goddess that I've always worked with for years has been Hecate, which is a Greek goddess. So my traditions are mainly Celtic and Greek, but I also have a lot of Native American influences in my path. And my motto is a Daoist perspective. That's not the word I wanted to use. What's the word I want to use? Basically, yin yang is my motto, my motto for life. Everything is balanced because everything has a polarity. You've got light, dark. You've got masculine, feminine, positive, negative. Just opposites. So those are the main aspects of my tradition and path. I'm eclectic. I take bits and pieces from everything, but that's mainly the things that I work with. And hoodoo, mainly Appalachian hoodoo and folk magic, because I live in the Appalachian Mountains. It's what I know and live by, so that as well. So Celtic, Native American, Daoist, Greek and Roman, kind of gypsy kind of stuff, and Appalachian, folk magic, and hoodoo. So that's mainly what sums up me and my beliefs and my type of magic and tradition and path. Okay, question 5. Is your craft devotional or secular? How do you incorporate your faith into your craft if you do so? This question, I feel like a lot of people don't fully understand this question, and I'm one of those people. I really don't specifically know what they're asking, ironically. Or honestly, not ironically, honestly. So devotional, well, if you're devoted or you're a devout, yada, 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 then you're devout to your faith or to your god or your goddess or your whatever. So I'm assuming that has something to do with worshiping gods and goddesses. I'm not big on that, and I don't take it like literal like a lot of people do from like any religion. But, I do say that I work with Hecate as well as the Morgan. So, Hecate is a Greek goddess. The Morgan is a Celtic goddess. I love the symbolism of them, the artwork, how they're depicted, and their the legends and the lore and literature about them. But do I really believe that there's like goddesses in the sky or around me that look just like that? No, that'd be badass, that'd be awesome. But I don't really think that that's them. I work with the energies more so than the personified image or stereotype of gods and goddesses. So, you know, I do work with the energy, but not like how I feel like a lot of other people do, if that makes sense. I'm by myself. I'm a solitary, eclectic pagan witch. So, I don't know. I guess secular is what I would be. I don't know. I don't know. But I do work a little bit with, those goddesses. So, I don't know how to answer that. Tell me if you know, because I don't know what I would consider myself as, honestly. Okay, question 6. Are you a closeted witch or out in the open? If so, how do your sorry, I cannot see, guys. How do your friends and family feel about your path? Okay, so am I a closeted witch or out in the open? I'm pretty out in the open, honestly. I'm very upfront about being a witch and a pagan. I tell people that all the time, or at least say I'm very spiritual and into like the new age kind of thing and stuff like that. If people are like really critical, I just say I'm a spiritualist and I'm into like metaphysical and new age stuff. And if I feel like comfortable enough with them, which most people I do, I just say, yeah, I'm a pagan. I'm an eclectic pagan witch and I practice witchcraft. And no, I'm not Wiccan. But I do like the structure of Wicca if I feel like they know what that is. Because usually they do, because they'll ask questions or they ask, oh, so are you Wiccan, if I say I'm a pagan or a witch. And I'm like, no, but I kind of am, kind of not, It's weird. I pretty much am, except I believe if somebody does something to you, you have the right to do something back to them. I don't believe in the harm none rule and the threefold law and all that. So, but as far as like ritualistically, ceremonially, how I set my altar up, different sides, left side's feminine, goddess side, the right side is the masculine, god side. I think I said, well, left is goddess. I don't know if I said goddess, but anyways, stuff like that is very Wiccan based or Wiccanized or whatever. But as far as the main belief or main golden rule, I don't believe in it. So that's why I don't call myself Wiccan. Question 7. Are you solitary or are you in a coven? I'm solitary, but I would kind of like to try out a coven, a small coven. I would really just like to find this, and this sounds cliche, I know, but I would love this so much. If I could find like 2 or 3 girlfriends to have like our own mini coven with, like just 2 or 3 girls that are into the same stuff I am, like witchcraft wise, that we would be like solitaries, but we would occasionally practice together, like for Sabbats and stuff, I think that'd be awesome. And I know that's kind of cliche in the craft, but who would not want that? Like, that would be so cool, And unfortunately, I don't have that. And I envy people who do have that, because that's just, you're very lucky if you've got friends like that where you can practice with and study with and go out and do witchy things with. I've always wanted that. So, but for right now, I'm solitary. Question 8. Don't knock that camera over, cat. Question 8. What's something you wish somebody or someone told you, or something you wished you knew before you had started, I guess, your path? It's okay to make mistakes. There's no right or wrong way to do anything in craft or magic, because it's your craft and your magic. People can write rules in books like that all they want all day long. Doesn't mean it's do or die, or it's not like it's like the commandments, like you have to do it, like there's no right or wrong way about your craft, and no one should tell you you're doing something wrong because fuck them. Like, no, you're not. If that's what you think you need to do or should do, then do it. Screw everybody else. Who cares? So, yeah. That's just my 2 cents on that, I guess. Question 9. What resource was the most valuable for you in in the beginning of your practice. What about now? What resource? For me, it was the computer. And then also the public library helped a lot too. But I'd say the computer more than anything, because that's, like I said, I got on there, I taught myself how to use the computer, because I knew if I could do that, then I could find information and the things I needed. I knew it was my way of gaining knowledge on things that I knew other people wouldn't tell me, or couldn't tell me because they didn't know or didn't agree with. And even as a small young child, I knew that. So the computer, which is why it's a huge part of my life to this day. Like, I really love the internet. Like, I could not live without the internet. People can say their cell phones all they want, but I don't care. I don't talk to people usually anyway. My life is literally like reading articles and watching YouTube videos. Like, that is my life online, because I like to study and learn about things I'm interested in, which is witchcraft and paganism and spiritualism and stuff like that. So the internet, the computer, it's definitely my biggest resource and influence when it comes to that. I need to scroll down. Question 10. What was your first spell and was it successful? I'm sorry guys, I'm going on like 2 hours of sleep in the last 2 days straight. I have not even been to bed yet since yesterday morning. So I'm like so tired, but yet I've stayed up so long. It's like I'm wired, but I'm tired at the same time, and that's why I look rough and have like these awful bags under my eyes. But it's been a hellish week and couple of days with school and work. So yeah, I was still printing homework off at 6:30 this morning, and I had class at like 8. So I didn't even go to bed. I like printed shit off, laid in bed and looked at the ceiling, and then got up and got in the shower and went to class. And I've been up ever since. Like, I'm just like I'm barely hanging in there, honestly. So bear with me and my yawns. But anyway, my first spell. Okay, question 10. My first spell was what was my first spell? It was either a little love spell for this guy I had a crush on at the time. I didn't know better. And I was young. This is like puppy love, guys. Like, this is very young. I was like, yeah, it was middle school. It was either a little love spell for my little crush, who I will not mention the name, or it possibly also might have been a protection spell, actually, against bullies, because I had issues with bullies. I had frenemies. I've talked about this before. My two frenemies, closest frenemies or whatever, were my best friends one day and then enemies the next. I mean, we were the Mean Girls before Mean Girls was a movie. Like, literally, like, before Mean Girls had even come out. We were the Mean Girls. Like, we were fucking Regina George, Gretchen Wieners, and fucking Karen, whatever her last name is, Smith or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. It was not good, needless to say. So yeah. I did a protection spell against bullies to protect myself from getting bullied, because they literally tried to tear me down and destroy me. It was really bad. Especially when they start turning everyone else against you. I went from being more of a liked person or a popular person with them to losing everything because they decided to play Regina George and be Mean Girls or whatever, and I decided I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to be mean to other people. They were mean to other people. I was never really mean to other people, but they were, and they wanted me to be, and I was like, no, I'm not going to be mean to other people. Why would I be mean to other people? You know, I'm not mean to anybody unless they're mean to me and they do something to intentionally harm me or a loved one. Then yeah, then you're fair game. But I'm not just going to go out of my way to be mean to somebody and bully somebody or make them feel bad or put them down for no reason. So they wanted me to do that. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So then they had just trashed me, my reputation, started rumors. I mean, literally bullied the hell out of me for years. But they got theirs in the end, needless to say. which I probably had something to do with actually, and that has to do with this. But you know what? Like I said, fair game. And yeah, so yeah, it was successful. So those were my first 2 spells. I can't remember which one I actually had done first. But yeah, those were my first 2. And they actually were both successful. So yeah. Question 11. What do you do when you feel out of touch with your craft? I binge watch shows and movies of the stereotypical Hollywood witches and witchcraft. Things that aren't real, but gives you that creative inspiration and motivation. Like, I love watching my cheesy Halloween movies I watched as a kid, like, that I love. I mean, they're cheesy to other people. They're not really cheesy to me, because I still love them. But I'm looking over here right now, because I have, like, my movie case that has them. Like, Double Double Toil and Trouble, the Halloween Town series, Hocus Pocus, like, anything like that that's, like, kid-like and Halloween-y and witchy. I binge watched the hell out of that. I watch In the Craft and Judy Picoult's Salem Falls I love. What else? I don't know, just anything with witches and Halloween, like, that's kid-like. Like, it just puts me in that mood, like, do something witchy, and I love it. Even watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I always loved that show. Both with Melissa Joan Hart, with real people, and in the cartoon as well. Like, I love watching stuff like that. It gets me back into my groove or whatever to, like, do something witchy. Even though it's the fantasy Hollywood kind of witchcraft, it puts you in that mindset and that perspective. Takes you out of the mundane and puts you more in a magical kind of mindset. So I love that. So that's what I do, and it works for me. So, I also love watching ghost hunters and paranormal shows and stuff like that as well. Question 12, I think. Yes, question 12. Have you ever doubted your faith or your ability? No, I really haven't, actually. I don't really remember a time where I've actually doubted it or my ability to do magic or anything. Like, I've always stuck with this. And I've always believed in it, so. What are some this is 13. What are some grounding techniques that you've found work for you? A lot of people say this one, but I feel like it really works. Like, going out into nature, like going out and sitting on the ground, or standing on a tree stump, or sitting on a tree stump, or under a tree. Like, to me, that grounds me the best. And then the ocean. But unfortunately, I live in the mountains of western North Carolina. But I used to live at the beach for a while too. We had a home in Florida, and that's really what I consider my home. I love the beach. I'm a beach girl, believe it or not. And if I could be at the ocean, I would be at the ocean more so than anywhere else. But the ocean is very grounding and protective and healing to me, and I love it. So yeah, those 2 things are the most grounding for me. Other ways to ground after you've already done something magical, like performing a ritual or a ceremony or something, is I love to, like, eat good food and watch some of my favorite shows or movies. That helps me ground as well. Kind of relax and come back down to earth and just, get back into the right mind state or whatever in the mundane world. And it just kind of brings you back. Question 14. What's your biggest pet peeve in the magical community? My biggest pet peeve is people who are assholes to other people for no reason, telling them that they're doing is right or wrong, or telling them that telling them that their stuff's wrong is what I meant to say, like saying, like, you're wrong for doing that, or you're doing something the wrong way, or saying you have to do it this way and you have to use these ingredients and these things and you have to say these exact words. Like, no, you don't have to do anything. Somebody else created it, just like some other person created the 10 Commandments. Somebody else created the Bible. Like, it's not set in stone. It was not created by the almighty creator of everything. It's another person's words, thoughts, or opinions. You don't have to listen to that in any way, shape, or form, in any religion, any practice, nothing. So don't think you have to, because you really do not. Okay? That's my biggest pet peeve. So if you're a newbie or somebody who is a little unsure of if you're doing things right or wrong, you're always doing things right if you're doing them with your head and heart, you know? Like if you're being honest with yourself and you think and you feel that you should do something or do something a certain way, do it that way. Don't second guess yourself and think, well, I better not do that because this book said this isn't going to work because these properties don't match up for the whatever spell or intention I have in mind. Like, don't listen to that. Listen to your heart and your head, okay? Listen to yourself. That is the way you will have the best results because that's coming from you. That's all you, okay? Don't copy some other cookie cutter person's thoughts or opinions because chances are you're not going to feel that that's going to work for you. If you create something from scratch yourself, you birth something, an idea, an intention, a spell, that's what's going to work for you. So go with your own instinct and your own intuition, listen to your own heart and head, and you will have the best results. I will say that. That is a for sure thing, okay? Question 15. What was your biggest spell disaster? My biggest spell disaster. As far as like a spell not going the right way, as far as like the outcome of that spell, or a disaster happening while you're in the middle of a spell, because I have both actually. I guess my biggest spell disaster would be when I had done a love spell. This is the early days, let me tell you. This wasn't the first one I had done. This was another one I had done early on when I got into high school. I had done a love spell for my boyfriend at the time to be faithful and committed to me. Well, I wanted to bind us together so that he was committed to me and he wasn't off flirting and cheating on me with some other hooker ass bitch. And although it did work to an extent, it made him very obsessive and possessive of me, which was very bad and unhealthy. So that was a big fuck up on my part, but I didn't think it would end up that way. But I learned. So I had to, it took time and it took several tries to actually undo all that because it was so strong and so intense. I had to literally try to undo this spell like 3 different times, like to reverse it because it was out of hand. So that's bad. Now, the biggest disaster I've had doing a spell, like physically, one time I was doing a spell, again, this was years ago, early on, like first getting into it. I was getting into the whole candles and all the materialistic things. Well, I caught my sleeve on fire once and I caught my hair on fire once. So it was really bad. Just barely, but still it did happen. So yeah, that was a disaster as well. Not good. Okay, question 16. What is your view on black magic? I think it's okay as long as within reason. I think that you shouldn't just do mean things to to people just to be mean. But if somebody does something to you, I think you should do something as equally bad back to them. I think that I believe in karma to an extent, but not in the same way other people do. It's kind of different how I believe in it. And I believe in it that way because I have literally seen karma do nothing when it should have done something. So I'm either like thinking 2 things here. I'm thinking either A, karma doesn't exist, or B, karma wants me to take care of this myself. So I usually go with B, needless to say. And usually it works out, you know. I think people should practice both white and black magic if they feel comfortable doing that. Or gray magic, if you will. Like, I consider myself a gray witch, and people don't like adding colors or saying they're a certain colored witch or whatever, or practice a certain type of colored magic. But it's just a fucking metaphor, people. Get the fuck over it, okay? If you can say it if you want, you know, like, it's not a big deal. It's a fucking metaphor. It's a way to explain something, like, you know? So yeah, motherfuckers, I'm a gray witch. I practice white magic and I practice black magic within reason. But anyway, nothing's wrong with that. So yes, I am a gray witch, I guess you could say. That's what I'll call myself, the gray witch. I'll just add that as my name or whatever. That's a good one. So yeah, I'm losing my voice, obviously, if you can't tell. So sorry, guys. Okay. I'm so croaky and I apologize. Okay, 17. Is witchcraft an everyday thing or is it only for special occasions? I mean, I don't practice every day, but I do study every day for sure, hands down. I never quit reading or watching articles or YouTube videos or documentaries or whatever the case may be, you know. Whether I read articles online or I read my books or whatever, I'm always reading or watching something that has to do with witchcraft or paganism or spiritualism or the universe. So it's an everyday thing for me. 18. Do you meditate? I do sometimes. Kitty, what are you doing? I try to. I can't just sit and be like, you know, meditate, but I meditate when I'm laying down, like right before I fall asleep, like when I'm really tired, which is probably going to happen in just a bit. When I lay down, I will, right before you're starting to really enter REM sleep or whatever, that's when I go into like this meditative state, always. I'm aware of it, but it's like I can totally meditate. It's crazy. It's almost like, it's like a meditation trance, but it's also almost like lucid dreaming and astral projection. It's very strange. It's kind of like a little bit of all that combined. It's hard to explain, but that's the only time I can enter any kind of state like that. So, for the most part, anyway. So, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to do, but when I do, that's, you know. Also, like, when I'm, like, automatic writing, in my journal, like, I'll just, like, write, and, like, I've only written, like, maybe a couple pages, and I'll have, like, 8 pages that I've just written, just letting the words flow, you know. So when I journal as well, that's, for me, it's a form of meditation, especially when I have a candle going, and in your peripheral vision, you see it, so you're kind of like scrying with your peripheral vision, and you're automatically writing, like, that's very meditative for me as well. Or just scrying in a candle anyways, in general, too. 19. Do you practice divination? Yes, I love divination. I love oracle card decks. I love tarot too, but I love oracle more than anything. And the pendulum. I also work with runes a little bit. I pull crystals. And I have my own meanings for each crystal. And I also kind of compare them to the stereotypical meanings as well. But I usually go with my own. If I'm unsure, I you know, use a book or whatever and see if that relates to me or not, but I usually go with my own crystal meanings when I pull a crystal out of a bag or out of a jar or bowl or something. I also work with Ouija boards and spirit boards. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, like, just really any kind of form of divination I love. You know, I love scrying, all kinds of things, really. My favorite is Oracle and Pendulum. Those are my favorites. 20. Moon phases, planetary correspondences, day of the week, hour, irrelevant, or key. I don't know what that last part means, but okay. Moon phases, I love the full moon, but I also like the dark moon as well. Sometimes, for a while there was a time where, like, I felt like I had more energy for the dark moon, which is weird. But I felt like that's when I wanted to do spells all the time and rituals. And it's like, stereotypically, you're not supposed to do that. You know, traditionally anyways. You're supposed to rest during the dark moon or whatever, new moon. But the new moon and dark moon, for some reason, I'd always want to, like, do something for the longest time. And then by the full moon, I was exhausted and I didn't have energy to, even though I wanted to still do something for the full moon because it's the full moon. I'd be so drained by that time. I never would get around to doing it for a while, you know. But I don't know, probably now I'm back kind of on track again, I guess, where the full moon is where I definitely have more energy to do stuff, and the waxing moon, so it makes sense. I don't really, I mean, planetary correspondences and stuff, there's a lot to that. I won't answer that one, but the day of the week, Fridays and Saturdays, those are my favorite days to do spells. It's Fridays and Saturdays is the weekend. If I don't have to work. If I have Fridays and Saturdays free, then yeah. But if I don't have them free, which lately I have not, and I probably won't for a while because my job started back up. Any day that I have free from work. And luckily school ends in like 2 days, so I won't have to worry about that. So I just gotta work around my work schedule. So, but yeah, typically usually Fridays and Saturdays. 21. Spell language. Do you keep it simple? Do you dress it up? Is it poetry? Is it silent? When I do spells, I actually really do love to incorporate poetry into my spells a lot, because I love poetry in general, and it flows better, and it puts you in that, again, that mindset and that kind of trance-like thing. But sometimes when you have a spell where the intention's kind of like, it's a certain intention where you can't really rhyme things, you know, it sounds weird, or it sounds like you're just totally making it up and it's too weird, I'll just like kind of say something or chant, like I'll literally just state my intention or chant it. So it just depends, but you know, both, I guess. I'll just state it, or I'll use poetry if I can. I mean, it just depends. Yeah. Sorry, I'm about to yawn. You can't tell. 22. Do you keep a boss, a book of shadows, or grimoire? Yes, I do. I have several. I've shown them several times, too. I'm actually getting ready to start another one, like a real one this time. Not like a big, thick, like, charmed style book, but like it's a different book. But there's something special about this book. It's different than all the rest of them. So I actually do have plans to start this one once I finally have more free time, which will be probably starting in a week or so. So probably this week, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Whenever school ends and I just have to worry about work, that's when I'll start it. So yeah. 23. Do you have an altar? Is it dedicated to any specific deity, season, or anything else? Yes, I do. I have several. I have 3 in my room. I have my elemental altar, which you've all seen, with my chakra stuff and everything dedicated to the elements. I have my mermaid, my sea witch, oceanic altar, which you've also all seen. And I have my stationery, which has 3 compartments. It has the first shelf is my Sabbath altar setup. So I changed it with the Sabbats and the seasons. The second shelf is my goddess and god and elemental altar, like my main altar or whatever, like set up with my tools and stuff. And then I have the bottom part where you write, like typically you write stationery or letters and stuff on that part of the stationery. But that's my working altar with my altar cloth that have my candles and my crystals and oils and stuff in those little compartments. And you've all seen this before on here and on Instagram and everything. So yeah, I mean, I have 3 altar spaces, but I have technically, I guess, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 altar setups. If you count the stationery as 3, because, you know, the Sabbath part, the goddess and god and the elemental part, and then the working altar part. So yeah, I definitely am big into altars. And that's what it's dedicated to, is all those things I just mentioned. 24. Thoughts on the afterlife. I believe in a type of afterlife. I don't know when people go, or if they get to choose to go, or to come back and be reincarnated into another person. I do believe in reincarnation, but I also believe in the afterlife, because I believe in spirits and ghosts and entities, because I've experienced them very strongly. My senses are very connected to beings like that. very much clairvoyant and clairaudient. And I've definitely seen some things that are, it'll make you believe. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in that for sure, but I also believe in past lives and reincarnation. I very much so. So, I feel like there is an afterlife. I do believe in it. I just don't know at what point you get to that afterlife. And if you get to come back, do you get to choose when you come and go or come back, or I don't know. I feel like you do, but I don't know. Nobody knows, but but I feel like it's something along those lines, because I do believe in both, because I've experienced both. I mean, obviously not with myself, but where I've seen things and heard things and felt things and just know, like, intuitively, just this gut feeling of things. Like, it's based off of that. So, who knows? 25. Do you or would you teach and practice witchcraft with your children? Yes, I definitely would, for sure. Now, if they chose when they got older to not be witches or pagans or practice witchcraft, that's okay. But yes, I will raise my kids in a pagan-oriented household based on the will of the year, traditions based off of that. They will be homeschooled. I mean, I have this planned out to a T when I do have kids. So I will raise them a certain way for sure. But they will be in a very witchy pagan environment for sure. 26. Do you have a totem animal? If so, what is it? I have several totem animals. I work a lot with totem animals. My personal ones, as far as representations of myself that I work with, that I feel like bits and pieces are a part of me and I'm a part of them, is the crow, the cat, and I'd say probably I feel like it's the crow and the cat mainly, but I also, kitty, sorry, I have cats, like I said, everywhere. I work a lot with the black bear, and the cardinal and the hummingbird are totem animals. They're spirit guides, really, for me. The cardinal represents my grandmother's spirit, who's always, always with me. It's so funny, like, even in the physical, like, it's just insane. How they follow me around all the time, red cardinals. She said if she could come back as any animal, she would come back as a red cardinal, even though she knew the red cardinals were the male birds. If she could be reincarnated, she said she would come back as a red cardinal. There's been a red cardinal since my grandmother has passed away that was not there before, but after she passed away, it comes and pecks on our windows early in the mornings and gets us up every single morning for years, this red cardinal. And I think it's her, at least her spirit. Anyway, now, I mean, I believe in reincarnation as far as reincarnating into people, because I believe in past lives, but maybe people can even reincarnate into animals. Who knows? Maybe, who knows? Maybe you pick and choose. I don't know. That'd be awesome if she could, if she had that many options to choose. Do I want to stay in the afterlife? Do I want to be reincarnated into a person or an animal or whatever? Who knows? But that is very ironic. Maybe she just sends it to wake us up. I don't know. But it's done that for years. And she passed away in 2001. We're in 2018. That's 18 years. This cardinal has came every single morning, knocked on the windows until we got up. Like, it would repetitively knock and peck on the windows until we got up and out of bed. And I think it's her. I think she sent it anyway. So that's a totem animal I work with, and she loved hummingbirds as well and blue jays. She really loved birds, but cardinals were her favorite. So when I see those birds, I think of her. But I don't know. Those are what's closest to me. I also work a lot with manatees and sea turtles as well. Those are like my sea totem animals, and then my land totem animals would be the cat, the crow, and the black bear. But I will say lately, which is kind of weird, I've had this draw, I'll say, towards a fox. And I know a lot of people have the fox as their spirit guide or their totem animal or whatever, but I've never been one that has felt that, But lately I've had a pull towards the fox, at least for right now in my life. So I'm going to take that as a sign. Also the mouse. A mouse is definitely one of mine as well. I forgot to mention. I know, cat and mouse, but anyway. That's another one. So I have kind of odd totem animals, but these are animals that have been with me for years, and they always come back, and they're always there, and they seem to show up when I need them or need advice from them or little messages from them. So yeah. So yeah, I told you I had several. Question 27. What are some witch books that influenced you? There's like 2 U's in there. There's a typo, guys. I'll fix that. What are some witch books that influenced you? Scott Cunningham. Anything by Scott Cunningham. And Silver Ravenwolf. I know she gets a lot of flack because people don't like her. They either love her or they hate her. But I actually really love her books. Like, mainly the Solitary Witch book. That's like the best one, I think. And I do recommend that to newbies because, and I use newbies lightly. I don't mean that in an offensive manner, but people new to the craft, newbies, you know. I don't mean it in a mean way, just as a general slang term way. But it's a great book. It really is. There's a lot of information in that book, and it's eclectic. It's not specifically Wiccan based or anything. Like, it's a good book, though. So check out Silver Ravenwolf's Book of Shadows, I believe is what it is, or Grimoire. It's the big, thick, like maroon book. But it's really good. If you've never read it, stop being so loud, Rue. God, she just whines and whines and whines. I gotta get through this. Tools, handmade only. Hold on, I'm gonna be mean. Quit. I hate doing that, but sometimes I have to. Cats don't like water bottles. They hate being sprayed with water. Sometimes I have to when they like are flipping out in the middle of the night. So anyway, 28. Tools, handmade only, natural materials only. I only need my will. Any works if I want to use it. Anything works if I want to use it. I don't know. That was kind of written. I don't know where this came from. I feel like people have changed the questions maybe or rewritten them or something. I don't know though. I feel like there's a couple of typos here towards the end. But anyway. Okay, so tools. I use both handmade tools and store-bought tools, both. Mainly store-bought now, but starting out, everything was handmade. Or it was gifted to me from somebody else. I didn't go out and buy things until a few years ago, actually, when it comes to tools and stuff. But I do. This sounds bad, but I kind of am a materialistic person. I'm a Capricorn sun, a Taurus moon. We are very materialistic zodiac people. But needless to say, so yeah, I do like materialistic things. I like pretty things, you know. Now, I don't have to have them, but I would prefer to have them. You know, not overwhelmingly abundance of them, but special things that catch my eye, like, yeah, I'm gonna probably most likely buy, you know, if it catches my eye. So, both. I don't know what the rest of that question was asking, because it's strange. I don't know. Okay. 29. Do you have a magical name? My magical name I always went by was Autumn's Apple Tree, and I still kind of go by that. This is what I started my channel originally as, was Autumn's Apple Tree 13. Yeah, it's like my email address for this and everything. It's Autumn's Apple Tree. It's just what I've always gone by. Some people call me Autumn's. Some say Autumn's Apple. Some people just say Autumn's Apple Tree. It doesn't matter. But that's my I guess my public magical name. But it's also kind of like my personal one too. I don't really have a personal name per se. Not yet. I mean, I've had little vibes here and there of, you know, but it's not been so strong where I'm like, yeah, this is like my magical name. Like, this is my personal name to use in my craft that nobody knows. Like, I've not found a name that intense yet, you know. And who knows if I ever will, you know. Maybe I'll just stick with Autumn's apple tree. It depends. You know, I guess I'll know when that time comes. And then the last question, question 30, favorites. Okay, favorite season, fall, hands down. I love fall. Fall is my favorite. October is my favorite month too, obviously. Herb. My favorite herb is kind of generic and traditional, but I love rosemary and I love lavender. My favorites. Favorite crystal. Crystal would probably be amethyst. I like light amethyst better than dark amethyst, even though the dark amethyst is more expensive. I don't care for that. I mean, it's nice too, but I like the light colored amethyst, like light purple. I've always had an attraction to it. My favorite amethyst or favorite crystal that I own is a small piece of purple amethyst like that. That's light purple. It's my favorite. I've had it since I was in like kindergarten or first grade. I was like 5 or 6. And I still have it and I still carry it with me. It's on my altar. Favorite rune? I don't know the runes well enough to say a certain rune, actually. I mean, I'll occasionally use them for divination purposes where I'll just draw one, but I have to look up the meaning. Like, I don't really know the meanings hands down and stuff like that. I'm not as much into the Viking thing, per se, even though, ironically, I do have runes on this pentacle, and this is my favorite pentacle necklace. Well, besides my copper one that has the stag on it. It's like a stag pentacle. I love it too, but this is just the one I wear. It has runes on it, but I'm not Viking. I don't follow the Viking tradition really or anything, like, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Favorite tarot card? My favorite tarot card would probably be I love the moon card, obviously, but I also love the Ace of Pentacles. I kind of like the Hanged Man. A lot of people don't like it, they fear it, but I kind of like the Hanged Man. I always lay in that position too. I always go to sleep or wake up in that position too, or on my stomach, but a lot of times I'll be in that weird position, like with my legs. It's weird. I don't know. And I also like the World. The World, yeah. Yeah, I really like those. Those are probably my favorite cards. Symbol or sigil, the Pentacle. The Pentacle is my favorite. And a sigil I created as a kid, I'll show you, I actually have it up here. Ow, 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 ow. God, that hurts. See this thing right here? This symbol thing? I had created this when I was a really little kid in school. This thing would help me focus. And I always ace test when I would draw this on my paper. And I always did. And I still do. I still use it. And I was just like doodling the other day and I thought about it. And I was like, I'm gonna draw that. So that's my personal, and I'm sharing with you guys, but it's my personal symbol sigil that I use, that I created. So sometimes I do put a circle around it, so it's still kind of another form, like an evolved form of a pentacle, but then it's kind of different. It's almost like a wand, like a star wand, but it's also like a pentacle as well. I guess technically it's a pentagram without a circle, and then it's a pentacle with a circle. But anyways, yeah, that's my thing. So this is a long ass video. It's almost an hour long. It's like 53, 54 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. And if you've stuck through with me this long or skimmed through, awesome. I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.